the Irrational Confidence Podcast. The top 25,
honorable mention,
just a bit outside. It's the Wisconsin Badgers. Coming off a 7-6 year in Luke Fickell's first year in Wisconsin.
Year 2, you're going to have a lot more of your own guys. My ceiling is 9-3, and my fourth.
Best case scenario, 10-2. It's the Wisconsin Badgers. They coming off a 7-6 year in Luke Fickell's first year in Wisconsin. And it was a year of transition because they were switching from the old glory days of Wisconsin. They had probably one of the better running backs in college football in Braylon Allen. I don't necessarily know if they used him the right way. They were 7-6 last year, but it's year 2 of Luke Fickell. Luke Fickell has a lot of respect, carries a lot of weight as a head coach. Wisconsin's done Wisconsin things. They've recruited an offensive line very, very well the last couple of recruiting cycles. I'm interested to see if that investment in the trenches has paid off for them. And Tyler Van Dyke, crazy change of scenery, going from Coral Gables, Miami, Florida area, to Camp Randall, Wisconsin, where there's cheese, snow, and beer. And brats.
It's funny how all the Miami fans are like Jekyll and Hyde with Tyler Van Dyke. 1 week he looks great or throws a couple of beautiful touchdown passes, and then the next week the dude just is off on an island and have no idea what's going on.
Why does Wisconsin, when you say it this way, like cheese, beer, brats, and what's the last one I said?
I wasn't listening.
Oh, cheese. Well, thanks for that, Fresh.
But I tuned it out of beer, cheese, and brats.
Well, yeah. But why does that sound better than Miami right now? I might be hungry.
I would tell you right now, it's a fresh start.
Right. It is.
He had showed flashes, and people were like, "Why are we getting this every single week?" And then the bottom would just fall out. He played terrible, or it just was. Something just did not click. Maybe the pressure of being Miami. Maybe, Cristobal is not the greatest coach in the world, but I think this is more of a change for him. A change of pace, new slate. Very similar to Graham Mertz going to Florida. Now, Graham Mertz, he makes some very bad decisions at times with the football. He actually improved at Florida than when he was at Wisconsin, but it was a change of scene for him. Maybe Tyler Van Dyke getting the same kind of flop where he's going somewhere different and the pressure's not as high. But we'll see, because it's an air raid offense now at Wisconsin. It's not the old school, power offense, Ron Dane, Michael Bennett, Monty Ball, etc., plowing through, or Melvin Gordon or anyone else in the backfield. This is a different kind of Badger philosophy offensively. And Phil Longo and him have got to find a way to click and throw the football around the yard. And maybe he wants to be in that kind of spread and not more of a pro style like we're kind of down at Miami. So I have no idea what to expect from him, because I've seen pretty efficient quarterback play, and I've seen downright appalling play at quarterback from him when he's out with the Hurricanes. So Wisconsin, you're going to sort of have to just take the good with the bad, and they're going to need other players to step up. One of them being Will Pauling, the wide receiver. Last year led the Big Ten in receiving yards from the slot with 820 yards. Not a perimeter guy, but he's that slot guy in an air raid offense. You need the guy across the middle. And as we see NFL evolve, we see college football evolve, the days of the Calvin Johnsons or the Roy Williams, the legit Terrell Owens, the perimeter receiver who's just 6'5", a beast on the field, that's kind of not been the norm lately. Finding guys who can get open in space, sit down in the zone, catch the passes, catch the ball and run, in transition, making it fluid offense. And that's where you're starting to see you don't need the typical size receiver on the edge. You can put all different guys out there as long as they understand the offense and the quarterback and them can get on the same page. So if Pauling can continue to evolve, it adds a go-to guy for him, gives Van Dyke a comfort level, a safety net that he can play with, and allow the rest of the receiving corps to develop. Because last year we didn't see it. Their offense was pretty tough to watch. They weren't very efficiently. They had many touchdown passes. It was something that was still in the learning stages. So here, how will they take this to the next level? Then you mentioned it, running backs from Wisconsin. Tallawee Walker how does he fill in for Braylon Allen? How does anyone in that Wisconsin backfield fill in for Braylon Allen? Braylon Allen did it all. So, number one, don't try to be Braylon Allen. Don't try to be Ron Dane. Don't try to be Michael Bennett. Don't try to be any of those Badger running backs. Be yourself and play within the offense. Do your contributions, get your reps. We might even just see a committee of backs being involved, but they're going to have to find a way to run the football and help this defense. The defense attacks, but the Badger defense plays better when the game is tied or they're up by a touchdown. And those edge rushers that they just sort of now produce out of nowhere, out of the dairy farms, come in there and get after the quarterback. But they've got to keep that going. The biggest thing that I want to see, though, yeah, we're seeing year 2 of the air raid. I want to see year 2 of Luke Fickell and Tressel's defense. How have they developed these players? I think it's actually going to be a true base on Fickell's legacy. What he did at Cincinnati was fantastic. He's brought here Wisconsin to have them compete for a Big Ten title and get them to a playoff spot. Year 2, you're going to have a lot more of your own guys. You've hit the transfer portal hard. What have you done year 1 to year 2 with a lot more of your own guys, and how can you build off that, get them to play on the same level and succeed? You found a way to finish strong last year after a rough start. Where's the team go from here? You have Alabama week 2, week 3 up in Camp Randall. How do you get after that? Where's this team ready to go and attack? That's what I really more focused on. The Badger defense and your new scheme, developing those players and having them perform at a high level and allowing the offense to continue to evolve and get better. But a big year for Fickell and that Badger football team.
Right, Fresh. It's interesting you brought his name up here because I have him circled in my notes here, and I actually wrote this under most important defensive person, and it's Mike Tressel. He is the DC from when Luke Fickell was over at Cincinnati there. If that name sounds familiar, again, Jim Tressel is his older brother. Dad was Coach Tressel at Baldwin Wallace University in Bree, Ohio. There's a Tressel Street over there. This family knows football. Like, this is a well-versed football family here. The interesting thing, I went back and I looked about Tressel's defense here. Tressel, when they were in Cincinnati there, and Cincinnati made that great run, offense, everyone's going to talk about Jerome Ford, Desmond Ridder, when we look back and do the ESPN 30 for 30. But really, the difference with that Cincinnati Bearcat team for them 2 years ago to make that run for the playoff was that defense. It was a top 5 defense in the country. And it's kind of weird because Wisconsin's always been known for their defense, but they've been known for like a staunch run defense, like almost next to, I remember for years being like, I always felt it was next to impossible to run the football against Wisconsin for the longest time. But if you look back at that Cincinnati team, they were one of the most, they had Sauce Gardner on the outside there that everyone tried to throw to the other side away from him. But they had one of the elite pass defenses in the country that year when they ran to the college football playoff here. Can Wisconsin almost transition to, does Mike Tressel have everything that he needs to transition that Wisconsin actually becomes a ridiculously strong pass defense? I think that the talent's there. I think the scheme is there. And you, like you said, you brought up the fact of you bring in some kids through the transfer portal, kind of get yourself through year 1. That makes sense to me. I get that. And you're right. Where you go year 2, it's about developing your own players, bringing in more additional supplemental pieces here, and making sure the players that you're bringing in completely fit your scheme to do what you want to do. If you take a look at this, and you take a look at and I think this is going to come down big time. If Wisconsin makes a jump in their pass defense, and specifically in the pass defense, they don't really face you have Alabama. Alabama's got talent. Alabama's Alabama. And Fox, you missed the boat making that a noon kick and not an 8 p.m. at Camp Randall. Missed the boat on that. Fox called me. I'm going to talk to you about scheduling football games. But you don't really face elite running backs outside of Alabama till you get to October 26th and Penn State, and you face those 2 running backs over there. Then again, you have a little bit of problems in that back half of the schedule there in November, like you were talking about for some other teams here, Fresh. But if you can really make a jump with that pass defense, there's a lot of games early on their slate I think that Alabama game is going to be tough, but it's not unwinnable, and it's in Camp Randall. I'm interested because I think that's a perfect Luke Fickell. I'm making a statement why I'm here at Wisconsin game. And with DeBoer, brand new thing, brand new coaching staff in Alabama. Alabama's right for the picking right there. I think it gets real easy. Their back half of their schedule is a little difficult with Penn State, Oregon, and I think Nebraska is going to be better, especially going into Nebraska late in the season. But, that's got to be it for me. Does Wisconsin's pass defense make that jump?
Well, it's a great point you made about pass defense because, folks, this is not your dad's, your uncle's, your grandfather's, your great-grandfather's, your great-great-grandfather's Big Ten. 4 yards in a cloud of dust, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That nonsense, that archaic style is gone. We have Oregon's high-flying offense coming in. Washington's going to spread it out. USC's under Lincoln Riley's going to spread it out. Penn State has they put players on the field. Ohio State's offense is already heavily evolved. Purdue's always been throwing the ball around for a long time. Nebraska's becoming more modernized, their offense. You're seeing it take shape. I guarantee Michigan State under Jonathan Smith is going to be a lot better offensively too. The game is changing. The Big Ten is finally offensively has caught up. They've gotten away from, we are who we are. We want to play. We want to run the football. Everybody has to run the football, but in this day and age, you've got to throw the ball a little bit too. You've got to evolve your passing game. You're seeing them defensively like, hey, we've got to stop these guys. We've got to be able to stop Ohio State coming out there with all that talent because they recruit 5-star receivers every single year. Oregon, USC, the list goes on. Michigan players. Building a defense in the secondary and a pass rush to support. That's where they know they can get it done. If Luke Fickell and Mike Tressel can get that defense ready to go and build layers on for not just this year, but going forward,
right,
they will be ahead of the curve because they have the defense ready to go.
Right.
When you talk about toughest stretch, the last 4 games, you got Penn State at Iowa, which is always a rivalry, Oregon coming to town, and at Nebraska. If they're in the conversation, we're going to know if they're pretenders or contenders, and they're going to earn it down the stretch.
Yeah, I have the exact same 4-game stretch there, fresh, leading into because we're going to know what type of Wisconsin team we are. If they can manage, again, that's going to be an upset. People are going to view it as an upset. I'm not going to say it's a huge upset for me if Wisconsin beats Alabama, especially at Camp Randall. I would say, that's a little bit of a shocker, but it's not like a monumental upset to me because, again, what Luke Fickell has done before I give him a little bit of respect, and again, Tyler Van Dyke I like a lot. This team, to me, has the potential to be a 10-2 team. I don't necessarily know if it's a finished product where you can say, like, this team's got the chance. I think they're going to not be good enough to beat Penn State. Although Penn State is in Camp Randall and Oregon's in Camp Randall, they get their 3 toughest games on paper in Wisconsin. So maybe I'm wrong on that. Actually, they're fresh. I just don't see you going 3-0 in Camp Randall against those 3 teams. I think best case scenario 2-1. I would say 10-2. 11-1 is a stretch for me, but I feel better saying best case scenario 10-2.
Look, man, 11-1. Any Badger fan knows they'll go lose a game to a terrible Illinois team or Northwestern out of nowhere after beating a great team the week before. So, but that's college sports in general, where we're dealing with 18 to 22-year-old kids, and now with NIL, these kids have more money, so there are more distractions. How do they stay focused week in and week out toward the ultimate goal as a team to win? And that's where you have to be sharp. The coaches have to keep the guys focused and locked in, and the players also have to police themselves, control themselves, keep the respect up so they all keep looking at the end goal. My ceiling is 9-3, and my floor is 7-5. I kind of feel it's just there's one of those games that you don't expect them to lose that they will find a way just inexplicably to take it out. But they will win a game they're not supposed to win too. But I think 9-3 is probably where I have them maxing out at. And 7-5 is if the bottom fell out, no worse than 7-5.